Victor Hugo. Name rings a bell? Perhaps you've hummed a tune from Les Misérables or marvelled at the Gothic grandeur of Notre Dame. These iconic works have left an indelible mark on culture and history. Both owe a debt to the man himself, a literary titan, a political firebrand, and a lover of, shall we say, epic proportions. His influence extended far beyond the written word. Born in the thick of the Napoleonic era, Hugo lived a life that could give even the most outlandish operas a run for their money. Exile? Check. Forbidden love? Check. His life was a whirlwind of dramatic events. Public adoration on a scale rarely seen? Oh, you better believe that's a check. He was a celebrity in his own right, drawing crowds wherever he went. Buckle up, dear reader, as we delve into the life and times of Victor Hugo, a man who proves that sometimes truth is far more dramatic than fiction. His story is one of passion, resilience, and unyielding creativity. This wasn't just a man who lived through history. He scribbled notes in its margins, rewrote entire chapters, and left an indelible mark on the world, and generally treated the world as his own personal stage. His life was a performance, each act more compelling than the last, and trust me, it made for one heck of a show, so sit back and enjoy as we unravel the extraordinary life of Victor Hugo. Now, one doesn't just wake up one morning and decide, I'll be the epitome of French romanticism. No, it takes a certain kind of upbringing. For young Victor, that meant a childhood practically designed by a playwright with a penchant for the melodramatic. Imagine a father, a general in Napoleon's army, forever marching off to war, leaving our young protagonist in a tug-of-war between his royalist mother and Bonapartist father. Talk about divided loyalties. This familial drama unfolded against the backdrop of a tumultuous France, a nation struggling to find its footing after a revolution. Is it any wonder, then, that young Victor grew up with a flair for the dramatic and a burning desire to be heard? Surrounded by books and political debates, he dipped his quill into the inkwell of storytelling, and thus began the legend of Victor Hugo, the writer. Fast forward a few years, and Hugo pens a little novel you might have heard of. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a sweeping tale of love, loss, and a rather unfortunate bell ringer named Quasimodo, it became an instant classic. But here's the kicker. The novel wasn't just a bestseller, it was a literary defibrillator for Notre Dame Cathedral itself. You see, by the 19th century, the once majestic cathedral was crumbling, a victim of time and neglect. Enter Hugo, our knight in shining armour, or rather our writer with a way with words. His vivid portrayal of the cathedral's beauty, its history, and yes, even its grotesques, rekindled public interest, sparking a wave of restoration efforts. Talk about the power of the pen. Victor Hugo, the saviour of Notre Dame, not a bad addition to the resume, wouldn't you say? Now, a man as passionate as Hugo couldn't be confined to the page alone, could he? His life was as dramatic and colourful as the novels he penned. Oh no, his love life was a saga, worthy of its own 3-volume set. We're talking whirlwind romances, forbidden affairs, and passionate encounters that could rival any of his fictional tales. He wrote enough love letters to fill the Seine, each one a testament to his fervent emotions and poetic soul. His childhood sweetheart, Adèle Fouché, became his wife and muse. She was the anchor in his tumultuous life, inspiring many of his early works. But that didn't stop our intrepid Romeo from embarking on numerous liaisons, each one adding a new chapter to his already eventful life. Most notably with the actress Juliette Drouet. Juliette became his mistress, his confidant, his secretary, and his constant companion for over 50 years. Their relationship was a cornerstone of his life. Together, they navigated the highs and lows of his career, sharing a bond that was both personal and professional. Talk about a complicated love triangle. His life was filled with dramatic twists and turns, much like his novels. Through it all, Hugo wrote, and wrote, and wrote some more. His pen never seemed to rest, driven by the passions and experiences of his life. Was it the thrill of the chase, the heartache, the stolen moments that fueled his creativity? Perhaps it was all of these and more. The stolen moments, the secret rendezvous, the heartache, all of it seemed to pour into his writing, giving it a depth and intensity that resonated with readers. We may never know for sure what truly drove him, but one thing's for certain. When it came to matters of the heart, Victor Hugo was a man who lived, loved and wrote to the fullest. His life and works remain a testament to the power of passion and creativity. Section 5, Exile and the Art of Dramatic Returns. Remember that whole political firebrand bit? Well, Hugo's outspoken opposition to Napoleon III, nephew of a certain emperor, didn't exactly win him any favours with the powers that be. Forced into exile, Hugo spent almost 2 decades on the island of Guernsey. But banishing the man was like trying to extinguish a bonfire with a teacup. From his island refuge, Hugo continued to write, his words like thunderbolts aimed at the heart of the French government. He penned scathing satires, fiery political pamphlets, and even used his writing to champion causes like abolitionism. Exile? More like a writer's retreat with a side of political revolution. Even in exile, Victor Hugo knew how to make an entrance, or rather, how to make his absence felt even more strongly. Section 6, The Return of the King. No, not that one. In 1870, with the fall of Napoleon III, France finally rolled out the red carpet, or perhaps laid down a red velvet rope, for their prodigal son. Hugo's return to Paris was nothing short of a triumphal procession. Think ticker-tape parades, roaring crowds, and enough fanfare to make a rock star blush. People lined the streets, eager to catch a glimpse of the literary lion who had become a symbol of resistance against oppression. He was feted, celebrated, and hailed as a national hero. His voice, silenced for so long, boomed once more, now not just through his writing, but also through his passionate speeches. Victor Hugo was back, and France, it seemed, had never been happier to see him. Section 7. Curtain Call. A farewell fit for a showman. After a long and eventful life, the grand showman of French literature finally took his final bow in 1885. Naturally, his death was an event of national mourning. Over 2 million people lined the streets of Paris for his funeral procession, a testament to the love and admiration he inspired. He was laid to rest in the Pantheon, a mausoleum reserved for France's most illustrious citizens. A fitting end, you might say, for a man who lived his life on a grand scale, both on and off the page. But even in death, the drama wasn't over. In a fittingly theatrical twist, his will stipulated that his funeral be a simple affair for the people. And so it was, a stark contrast to the lavish ceremonies usually reserved for the elite. Section 8, The Legacy, more than just a pretty phrase. So, what remains of Victor Hugo? The man, the myth, the literary legend. His legacy is far-reaching and deeply ingrained in our culture. More than just cobwebs and dusty tomes, that's for sure. His works are living, breathing entities that continue to captivate and inspire. His novels continue to resonate with readers worldwide, translated into countless languages, adapted for stage and screen. They transcend time and place, speaking to the universal human experience. From the soaring melodies of Les Misérables, which have become anthems of resilience and hope, to the haunting beauty of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which continues to evoke deep emotions and reflections on society. Hugo's stories have become part of our collective consciousness. They are discussed, debated, and cherished by generations. His words have lost none of their power to move, to inspire, to challenge our perceptions, to remind us of the enduring strength of the human spirit. His characters embody resilience, courage, and the quest for justice. And what of his dramatic flair, his larger-than-life personality? It continues to inspire artists, writers, and thinkers. Well, in an age of instant gratification and fleeting fame, his life reminds us of the value of passion and perseverance. Perhaps there's a lesson to be learned from the man who embraced life with gusto, who lived with an intensity that few can match, who fought for his beliefs with unwavering conviction, and who loved with a passion that continues to leap off the page, touching hearts and minds. Victor Hugo, a man for all seasons, whose legacy is as vibrant and relevant today as it was in his time, and perhaps just the antidote we need in our own tumultuous times. His life and works offer a beacon of hope and a call to action.